All right. Welcome, everybody, to the NWO show, your source for everything New World. We've got kind of a chill show. It's Friday night. No major news drops, but we did want to kind of just chat with everybody and start prepping for the inevitable launch of the game. We're looking at beta coming up here in July, and I don't know about you, McLeod. I am excited. It is finally here. Oh, thank God. Yeah. We started this, what, a year ago? With the anticipated launch last spring. Assuming that the game was going to be out in time for, just in time for all of the articles that they were pushing out and all of that. It made sense to prep for it and just make a run at it. And then it got delayed to fall, and then it was like, okay, we can stretch it out, we can make this work. We clearly are taking our time with this. Then it just kept going, and they delayed it again with kind of an indefinite release that they didn't really let us know the end date. Sorry, the dog's getting settled here. Oh, apparently McLeod, you're
was
muted.
like pretty chill.
My bad.
Oh,
There we
no.
go. There we go.
Oh.
That makes sense.
Are we out? Are
Yep,
we back
I fixed it. It's better, I promise.
Okay. So I was just explaining there where like we had this like weird period where we suddenly realized that we had the opportunity to stream a whole bunch of content for the preview event, right? And we weren't expecting to be able to be. I guess we're kind of expecting to be streaming a little bit, but then things seemed as though they were being put on the back burner, kind of thing. But then they went, you can still stream the preview. We're still doing like the beta. That's not the beta. Is now the preview event kind of like thing. And then like we were like, oh crap, we need a whole bunch of assets and stuff ready to go. And I remember that was like, that moment was somewhat chaotic, and like in comparison, the periods before and after have been very, very chill.
Absolutely. It is kind of interesting to see from the perspective of running the Reddit, kind of the hype building, then it falls away, then it comes back, and I think we're starting to see a lot more activity on the subreddits, and we're starting to see a lot more activity in the community altogether. I'm hoping that means that, hey, this is going to be good. McLeod and I obviously can't talk about our experience in the game, but we can talk about our level of excitement. And of course, one of the things that kind of is a bit of a tell-all is that after a year, McLeod and I are still here. Like, effectively speaking, we wouldn't be here if we weren't interested in playing the game. We wouldn't be here if we weren't interested in playing the game long term.
And we wouldn't be here doing this if we didn't think that the game had legs either.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I pretty frequently see a lot of criticism on the subreddits when it comes to, is this game gonna be the next World of Warcraft? You know,
It's always the bar that people use.
That's always the one that people use.
I mean, the question is, that's always the yardstick that people use. It's always like, oh, is it going to be the WoW killer kind of thing? And it's like, I don't think anything can be the WoW killer, and even so, like, I don't think you can either say it's either the WoW killer, or it's like, or it will literally die like in a day. Like, I think there's a lot of scope between those two extremes, and it's always like in online sort of, on like Reddit, that kind of thing, like online conversations, like it's always degraded down to either one or the other. Like, it's either gonna die straight away or it's gonna be the WoW killer, right? It's like,
Well, and
the thing is,
I don't think it's fair to compare the two. Like, you've got one that's got 25 years worth of development, and one that's got 4. Like, sure, you can probably compare. I think if you compared World of Warcraft, the like vanilla launch, retro version, with the amount of content that was in there with New World, that would be fair. But comparing it against the current, what is it, Shadowlands, expansion, it's the life cycle of the game after release, with continued development, is an ongoing effort, and is an ongoing build up of content. It's not necessarily all going to be there on launch. There will be plenty of content on launch, but as with every game, they're not going to launch with 20 years worth of development and features and all of that. They're going to launch with what they have, and then as the community makes it through that content, then they'll add in additional things.
And I don't get the feeling of, like, the launch of New World being something akin to, say something like what was Hello Games' what was No Man's Sky? That's the one. I was thinking. I was like, why do I know the name of the developer and not the title? Like, what the fuck's going on there with my brain? But
it's a disassociation from what was a terrible game.
Just blocked in my mind.
Is now a very good game though. Like, it's actually made it full turn.
Like, they were able to move that around, but like, I don't get the feeling of like this game being, akin to No Man's Sky, in terms of a release, in terms of like, how a release will go. Like, I've been watching a few kind of breakdown videos of a whole bunch of things where essentially, so many developers are like going and trying to make this open world kind of, experience game kind of thing, but not being able to fill it, so they kind of try and like pull the wool over like the player's eyes and kind of try and sort of, blur the edges as to where the content starts and stops, and that never works out well. Hello Games did it with No Man's Sky, and they got found out very fucking quickly, and it didn't work out well at all. They made so many promises that they couldn't keep, but they pulled it around eventually, which is good.
That's the worry with like Star Citizen and Ashes of Creation right now, is that they've just made
Like,
so many large promises, you know, versus New World. They're very tactical about what they release at this point. You know,
yeah,
because they've had to make in the past, you know, large changes to the core of the game. Um, and I think that
no,
that's kind of put them at odds with some of the other studios out there that, you know, they might not be willing to push out until they have the final version ready to go.
yeah, and I get the feeling that, like, you know, Amazon are holding a lot back. Like, even if it's like, even if it's not actual fully tangible like content, you know, it's stuff that they have already pre-planned for a long period of time. Like, I get the feeling that they still have a lot of stuff like under the wraps.
Oh yeah. Well, and you know, one of the things that we really, you know, we put in theory a long time ago, because, you know, again, we've been having this show for the last year, um, actually a year and 4 months, so almost a year and a half at this point. Like, it's kind of crazy. Um, but one of the challenges with that is, like, you know, we came up with this theory that, okay, hey, in the preview, you know, one of the complaints was there really wasn't a lot of story. You know, like, you went around, you found the lore pages, um, but, you know, there really wasn't a lot of quests. You know, there really wasn't a lot of real depth to what you were doing in the world. You know, what was your actual impact? What was the impact of the things around you? And lately they released, and what we, all right, let me pause for a second here. We postulated, you know, completely theoretically, that, you know, hey, they've got to be doing something in the background. What could it possibly be? You know, are they, you know, do they just have like a hidden story, you know, that they just haven't shown? And, you know, it makes sense, you know, in the preview that they wouldn't show something like the storyline, because it's just not something that you would, you know, it's you don't give the game for free. You know, you give a taste of the game, but you don't give the full game. So it makes sense to hide something like that. And everybody thought I was crazy at the time. Oh no, they couldn't possibly add a full, voice acted storyline.
I was going to come on to
And
that,
here we
actually.
go. You know, updates on quest design, March 23rd. You know,
Yeah, added
fundamentally
voiceover
speaking.
and improved dialogue. Like,
Yeah.
you know, there was a point at which I was there, kind of going, you know, almost pleading, kind of going, please put voiceover, like like, you know, dialogue and voice acting into it, because it helps sell the story, and it helps people, you know, helps players, you know, in terms of like, it helps the people playing to connect with, you know, not just the story but the characters, but the people, you know, the NPCs. Like, it's, if you're not doing that, like, you're shooting yourself in the foot. And there are people who are basically, you know, on Reddit and what have you, saying like, oh, they said it previously, they're not going to have like dialogue, etc., etc., etc. And it's like, come on, dude, like, think about it.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, in the age of COVID, you know, it is not easy to do something like add voiceovers for, for a ton of quests without making some kind of noise about it ahead of time.
Yeah, and secondly, it's like, especially in a COVID situation, like, I mean, I'm, but by sort of, you know, by training, I'm an audio engineer as such. So like, I understand, you know, how like different recordings from different times in slightly different locations with like slightly different sort of, you know, slightly different sort of, local settings and that kind of stuff. Like, it can change how things sound without you realizing how it changes how it sounds. So, like, getting like a homogeneous sound, or a homogeneous recording for people, for like for the voice acting of a character, is really difficult to do in a localized setting, in like a home setting. Like,
Oh yeah.
getting that done in a COVID situation is like a feat in and of itself.
Oh yeah. You know, that's it. There's something to be said about that ability, and makes me think that it might have been something that they'd been working on long beforehand. You know,
I mean, possible, yeah.
like a lot of misunderstandings happen when it comes to game development, and everybody assume, you know, there's kind of this like background thought that has no logic to it, that when they release something, that's everything that they have in the pipeline. You know, like we're up to
Yeah.
date and we've got nothing else on the back burner, and we're going to start everything from that day forward for
It's
the
like
next
it's like
patch.
they're not designing and releasing like patches and bits of the of the game, kind of like a new episode of Lost that they like. Well, we've done that episode. Right now, let's write the next episode. It's like, wait, you haven't written the next like 10 episodes of the next series? Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. So, for those that don't know, they do have a release manager. So, what a release manager's job is, and I'm sure that that Kay is going to correct me if I'm wrong, if he watches the podcast here. Um, you know, a release manager's job is to make sure that everything is fundamentally ready to go into the current version. So when they push a patch or they push an update of any major kind, it's their job to be kind of that project manager, make sure everything's on track to hit the timeline, hit that date, and get everything out on time. And one of the things that gives me a lot of hope that the person that they hired really knows what they're doing is that they have, since the release last year, or since the preview event last year, they have hit consistently every month, the middle of the month, a major release of some kind. And
Yep.
that to me tells me that that person is the right person for the job, that clearly knows what they're doing.
Like I know companies at the moment that have long-standing, decades worth of development on an active service game that can't hit those level of deadlines.
mhm.
So
You know,
yeah,
they
just
being able to nail that is just a feat in itself. It speaks volumes about their ability, and really the studio's ability to meet their deadlines. The patch notes, you know, every month we're getting patch notes and we're seeing large coordinated changes that very consistently are taking into account player feedback. They're taking into account, just the realities of the game, and fundamentally are just speaking to what the community wants.
yeah, no doubt, dude, no doubt.
Yeah, the last comment in chat there, 100%. The one thing that they have been really bad about is being able to tell us if they are ready for launch. And I think at this point, fundamentally speaking, they're going to launch the game hell or high water in August of this year.
You know what's interesting, and this is kind of just literally come to me like right now, but what I find actually interesting is whoever makes that call as to like, are we at release quality, right? It's always a case of like, what is release quality? For an MMO, for a live service game, like what is release quality? You kind of, you have to sort of look back and use examples in the industry as to what is release quality for an open world, sort of MMO RPG, right? So you look back at like, your industry sort of, your industry kin, like, you know, who else has recently released an open world RPG, you know, to you know, a decent sort of you know, decent success. And it's like,
rip Cyberpunk.
like, you know, CD Projekt Red couldn't do it. Like, you know, Cyberpunk was like, they're still getting so much shit about it. You know, so Cyberpunk's out, right? You know, Anthem was an absolute fucking disaster, right?
Oh
So you
god,
can't use
yeah.
Anthem, right? You have to kind of keep on going backwards and backwards and backwards, and it's like, at some point you're there kind of going like, fuck, you know, making an MMORPG is a really fucking difficult thing, because there's so many examples of companies trying to do it and failing, rather than, you know, examples of companies, you know, doing it and you know, it working. Like, you know, you go to a different genre, you know, like shooters, like FPSs, for first person shooters, right? And it's like, there's actually a fair amount of, like, you know, good examples there. And that's the thing. It's like, I think when it comes to what, you know, how you determine what you know, release quality is like with, you know, something like a shooter, it's a bit easier. But for an MMORPG, like a live service MMORPG, it's really difficult, because there's not exactly that many examples out there.
Well, and the other kicker is that the studio's version, and I'm gonna go full techno talk here. The studio's version of a minimum viable product is likely different than that of the communities. You know, they might have thought, hey, you know, this is what we need, and we'll just, you know, we'll push in other stuff after release. You know, like it's no big deal. It's gonna be a live service, so you know, we'll continue development post launch anyways. So you know, it'll be fine. Well, you know, then they heard the community, and the preview event occurred, and they got a ton of feedback. That basically the resounding feedback from the preview event was, "Hey, we're really glad you delayed. You know, you gotta,
Exactly.
like, it was fun. It was a great 2 weeks. I don't think anybody would complain, and we all had a ton of fun. But I think everybody sat back at the end of that and went, hey, you know what? Good on them. You know, they listened. They went, hey, we've got some stuff that we got to do. And then they went right to it. And they started showing us, hey, you know, and learning in the process about their communications, which is an understated story here. They learned that we need to tell not just the alpha players what we're doing. And they kind of broke the veil of the alpha and started releasing more information to the public. You know, giving full patch notes to the public is like, for an NDA game, is a very strange thing to do, but
It is. Like,
fundamentally speaking, that's what the community needed.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when that happened. Like, I was like, they did what? Like,
Yeah.
I was shocked. I was genuinely shocked, because I was like, you don't get that. Like, you only get that, like, you know, once a title has been released. Like, you don't, like, who in their right mind gives patch notes for something that hasn't been released, that's still under NDA? Like, it was the weirdest of things. But, like, you know what? It's a sign of how open, you know, Amazon Games wants to be with their community.
Mm-hmm. You know, and it keeps people understanding the direction that they want to take the game. You know, so if somebody had a problem, you know, hey, I didn't think there was enough depth to the questing, and I didn't think there was enough type of quests, and you know, it always felt the same. You know, when there was no voice acting and all of that, you know. Then they come out and say, hey, in the patch notes, hey, we added voiceovers, we added more quest types, we added, you know, different types of questing, we added a bunch more of, like, straight up storyline quests, you know, and a ton. Like, they've overhauled that whole system to the point where they literally had not just the patch notes, but actually a post that describes their vision for how they want to do questing.
You know what it reminds me a little bit of, and you know, I don't want to cheapen it in any way, shape, or form by like making this comparison, but it's just like I just thought it was like a kind of an interesting comparison, but it kind of almost feels a little bit like, you know, sort of how, you know, like some stretch goals and stuff like that happen, um, you when it comes to like Kickstarter stuff. You know, like Kickstarter stuff, you always generally tend to have like, you know, an update as to where the Kickstarter, you know, where the campaign is, you know,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of like, you know, its completion sort of thing. So you get these like, you know, sort of rolling sort of updates as to, you know, what's going on with it. Like it kind of feels like that, but you know, not in a, you know, Kickstarter style we're going to rip you off sort of situation. It kind of feels like a kind of a nice. And a nice sort of homely update kind of cadence.
Yeah. And the other part of it is they're really showing where they currently are, and not trying to hide behind, you know, like some of these other games are doing. You know, here's what we'll do if we make this funding goal. If this, you know, they're not doing any of that.
I
And the
hate
other
that.
thing that really gives me a lot of hope is, you know, you see a ton of these other games out there that sit there and go, oh, you know, make sure to pre-order, but your pre-order is going to get you access to the alpha, and then your access to the alpha is, you know, going to be supplemented by buying skins and you know, X, Y, and Z and all these things. And you know, they end up spending a ton of their time just trying to make money off of the skins. Versus New World, they, like, you know, they're pretty
Mhm.
open about the fact that they don't really need your money right now. You know,
I was
like,
gonna I was
you
gonna
know,
say something else, and it's a complete tangent to what we're saying, but like you know, I'll bring it back in. You completely understand this, right? But you know, just today, just this afternoon, right? You'll be like wondering where the fuck this is coming from left, like this. Why did Mal why did McLeod go like this left field like on us, right? Um, so just this afternoon, right? NASA came out and with a sort of like well, it's not a press conference kind of like, but made an announcement, right, saying that you know the funding for the Artemis lunar lander like program is going to go solely to SpaceX, right? It basically means that you know all the money that Bezos has been putting into Blue Origin is now kind of defunct, and like he doesn't have to spend any more on that. So like, as far as I'm concerned, he's got money. He's got a lot of spare cash that he was going to be pushing into you know Blue Origin that he can now push to other places, like for example Amazon Games.
mm-hmm.
So you know he definitely doesn't you know need sort of like the microtransaction sort of capital at the moment.
Yeah, it really is. Uh, I mean, I don't know where to go with that one. Uh,
I did go on a bit of a crazy ass tangent, right?
um, just a bit. I don't know where to go with that one.
I just thought he's got more money. Like you know, Amazon has a lot more money to sort of, you know, to throw at projects.
Yeah. And one of the cool things about this is that fundamentally speaking, they appear to care more about the mechanics of the game and less about selling the players stuff. They want to sell the game. They don't seem to care, and we literally to this day there is a handful of things that we know about the cash shop. We know that it is going to be almost entirely cosmetic based. We know that it is going to be no loot boxes. And we also know that they are very adamantly against pay to win.
The fact that they don't, the fact that they're not going the loot box direction is like also very morally, you know, uh, like it's a very good from a moral standpoint, because like there's just been more and more information sort of like stacking up about how loot boxes are just, basically, unregulated gambling, and pushing gambling addiction into, you know to people who are extremely vulnerable to that kind of stuff. So
Oh,
the
well,
fact that they're
and it's
using
also a legal question mark too. You know,
yeah, it's true.
depending on the country you're in, it may or may not actually be a legal thing for you to do. Some of the other things that I think is interesting here is that, and obviously you look at a game like Star Citizen, or you look at a game like Ashes of Creation. They're selling things for a game that's not out. Whereas New World is not, aside from pre-orders, which depending on where you pre-order, your money is either on hold or, is in, like if it's on Steam, they take the money right away because it's Steam. But if you pre-order on Amazon, it doesn't actually charge your card. Hey, thanks for the sub. It doesn't actually charge your card until the game launches. So, like that's how that works. By the way, it's kind of an interesting system, but fundamentally that gives me a lot of hope because we haven't seen them work on those systems. Sure, it's probably somebody's job to work on those systems, but fundamentally speaking, they're not making it a forefront of the experience. They're making it a, hey, we've got more important shit to fix. And they're targeting quests. They're targeting making the map bigger. They're targeting crafting. They're targeting, just adding more content to the game, more depth to the game, and working on the core systems so that they're in the best shape they can be for launch, instead of working on the cash shop, which seems to be the forefront of a lot of these companies these days. So that to me gives me a lot of hope about their priorities as a company. Yeah. I kind of went on a tangent there.
Oh, that's completely cool. I went on a ridiculous tangent, so that's completely fine. Like, I was just thinking to myself, like, oh, right, like, what has Star Citizen done, like, with regards to, like, the most ridiculous, things that they now sell, for the game that doesn't actually exist at the moment.
Aren't they up to like a $15,000 package or something?
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous, right?
It's like, so there was a rumor out there, and this is only a rumor, and I would, obviously we're talking about, financial common sense. There was a rumor out there that there were, at some point, New World Alpha keys selling for over $300. Now, aside from the fact that it is, obviously not something you're allowed to do, $300 for a game that cost $40 is just ridiculous.
I get that people want to be involved in the process, but like, $300.
It's just silly. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and don't forget about the high chance of being scammed. Like, you're not exactly dealing with the salt of the earth, great people. When you're trying to buy a possibly key farmed key. Like, it's just like from somebody who like knows a thing or two about managing money, managing a lot of money in some cases. $300 for a game is way outside of my acceptable limits. Um, you know,
I mean, I know that Tarkov kind of like, starts to go into the hundreds at some point, I believe. But even so, like,
yeah.
300 is insane.
Needless to say, I would never suggest anybody do that, because that is one of the dumbest things you could do with your money. Wait the couple of months, get it when it comes out. Play the beta. If you like the beta, play it. Buy the game. Done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the other thing is, people think, oh, playing in the alpha is going to get you ahead. All of the progress in the alpha will be wiped going into the beta. All of the progress during the beta will be wiped going into the launch.
Yep.
So,
and if you think that the thing is with being part of the alpha, or being in the closed beta, like, it's going to give you a leg up in terms of knowledge, like, there will be lots and lots of people streaming the closed beta, and there'll be lots and lots of people who are going to be making how-to videos, on doing all sorts of things, in New World, on YouTube. Like, there already is a bunch, right? There already has been a whole bunch of how-to videos on, by a whole bunch of content creators explaining lore, explaining sort of various different aspects of the game, that they're able to kind of do because of the the preview event, right? And it's just, if you think that not being part of the alpha is gonna kind of be some kind of like penalty to you because of like knowledge, like a knowledge base, like, that's just not the case. Like, you just need to be able to find the content creators that are going to be making all the how-to videos, like, watch the shows that that we put out, that that people like Bordy and BDLG kind of that they're putting out, like, it's just there's a lot of stuff there, for you to kind of get acclimatized to what we can say, and what, like, and the knowledge base that is out there already about the game.
Well, and I mean, the other part of this is, okay, hey, maybe certain groups from the alpha might get ahead and that during the beta, but again, it's getting wiped for the launch. So everybody will have the same set of knowledge, the same understanding of the game going into the launch, a month later. So at that point, it's really no different. And playing in the alpha, sure, it might give you a leg up for the first week, for the first 2 weeks of the beta, but is that really gonna be enough? Or is that it's certainly not going to carry over into the launch. So, the advantage goes away pretty quick.
Yeah, the only thing that may end up carrying over into the launch is basically the knowledge base of how the game plays or how the game works, right? But, like, you'll be able to see that, you'll be able to experience that, through everybody who streams it, during the closed beta, like, right up to launch. So, you won't be without that knowledge base.
And I mean, there was definitely certain things that some of the groups couldn't have anticipated. I know during the preview, I don't think anybody anticipated the bottlenecks that were going to come up in terms of just running quests and having to wait for things to respawn, at least until they patched that.
I mean,
they've also fixed many of the ways that people rapidly did stuff in the past, and like, a lot of those very cheap and frankly things that should have been told to the devs during the alpha instead of abused for the public event. You know, I guess at bare minimum they made it out. They still fixed it, but you know, it's just stuff like that. They need to. It's in so much better of a state. Like,
but that's the other thing. Like, you know, as kind of Crown said, like, you know, with the, you know, knowing where to go and having the grind, like a good grind spots kind of thing. Like, you know, even in the preview event, like, you know, the grinds, the like one of the, you know, one of the most effective grind spots, like, you know, was demonstrated to so many people through so many different people's like live streams, like that you couldn't keep that thing a secret. Like, there was no real way that you would be able to keep that thing a secret. So, like, you know, if you think that, like, you know, groups are gonna keep secret like their most prized, you know, sort of ways of you know, eking out an advantage, you know, in the, like, between the when the closed beta starts up and when the actual release of the game happens. Like, no, it's not going to happen. Like, there will be people streaming that stuff and people will see how effective it is.
You know, the other thing, and you know, I think a lot of this, like, you know, we're gonna come out ahead right off the break. It comes from mindsets of people who play, you know, games like Rust that have that, you know, server reset on a frequent basis. Barring day one, you know, the game will continue to play as is from there forward. So there may be groups that come out ahead right off the break, but will they be able to hold their lead? Will they be able to hold their control as the rest of the player base catches up in the months to follow, in the years to follow? You know, there's a lot more there. You know, and the other side of this is, I believe they've mentioned that the preview event was dramatically accelerated XP. So your leveling was a substantially faster experience in the preview event than it would be during launch. That was one of the things they said on the Asmongold interview. So
yeah,
you know,
I mean, the thought process there is, like, what's the point of, you know, allowing all of these people to try out, you know, the game, if they only ever, you know, if only like 90% of the people only get like 5% or 10% into the game, right? Like, there's no real point, because you're not going to get the sort of, you know, the feedback from the players for the rest of the you know, the rest of the game. Like, you know, you have like massive amounts of the game that, like, just, you know, it wouldn't have been touched by the players, you know, in that preview event. So, like, it made sense to ramp up the progression for players, like, somewhat significantly for that event. So
yeah. You know, on the last comment there, you know, you can make a lot of money early on, and I totally agree with that. You know, understanding how the gameplay works, understanding how, you know, working together as a team definitely benefits you. You know, understanding how, you know, fitting your character with the appropriate gear helps you, and understanding, you know, the crafting systems definitely helps you make money, but at the same time, that's temporary. You know, I'll use myself as an example. In EVE Online, you know, I started playing the game 7 years after it launched, and I'm arguably speaking one of the top 0.01% in terms of wealth in the game. So, you know, you don't necessarily have to start right off the break to be infinitely ahead of everybody else. You just have to come up with good solid business plans and make them work.
Yeah, I think in actual fact you started later than me. Like you started after I started playing Eve, and like you, your degree of wealth in Eve is ridiculous. So
My
it's
my
not about how
yeah
you start. It's like it's how it's how you keep going.
yeah my uh, for those that for those that understand what this number is, my wealth in Eve is just about 5 trillion isk, which is ridiculous. Uh, uh, in order to get a key for the beta, all you have to do is pre-order.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you can do that either on Amazon's website or you can do it via Steam, I believe. But like,
Mm-hmm.
I think on Steam it takes like it's a straight purchase like there and then, whereas I think like you like if this is incorrect, A's like let me know if I'm like going down the wrong way. But like I think if you buy via Steam, it's like it's taken from your bank account or put on your card like straight away, whereas if it's through Amazon, they wait.
Yeah, because it's not actually released, so they're not going to take the money from you on Amazon yet. But because of the way things work on Steam, and it being a third-party company, there is a certain process that it goes through, and they take the money because Steam wants their cut. Now, fundamentally speaking, both of them, I haven't seen them withdraw mine, and I've ordered it. They also haven't charged me for the steelbook yet either.
It's nice.
Yeah. So, got a date for the pre-beta release. Yeah, July 20th will be the start of the beta, and then it's August 25th will be the actual launch. And I'm very much looking forward to the beta. It's going to be just a great experience. Mainly because we won't have to abide by the NDA and be able to stream it, and be able to have fun with people.
We'll be able to talk about it. We'll be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from all of the stuff that
is it the 31st?
AGS has actually released anyway, right?
Is it? I feel like I just got that wrong.
I think no. I think it was August 31st because I was there, kind of going. I do remember looking at the 31st and kind of going.
It is.
Yeah,
it is the 31st. My bad. Yep.
It's yeah, because they basically went like the last day of August, because essentially that allows them to say that they're releasing in August, and it gives them all of August to be able to make sure that they release in August, like even if it is the last day of August.
Mm-hmm. So I'm excited for this. I think it's gonna be a good route for them to go. It's a good timing. Some people have said, oh well, I think World of Warcraft is having an update or something. But if anybody knows anything about World of Warcraft, people play the game, they run through the new content, and then they stop playing the game. So even if it's not the best of launches, they'll come around pretty quick. Hey Echo, how's it going?
We're just waxing lyrical on where New World is at the moment and the future of New World, like talking about the release sort of stuff.
They do have a 10-year plan for supporting the game post-launch. They have basically expanded on stating, hey, this launch is just the start. It's not a line in the sand. They're going to continue to support the game, continue to develop content, continue to develop the map, which we've seen them do multiple times at this point. And I'm digging the route that they're going with that. In all honesty, I know some people argue, oh well, adding a Chinese, Japanese, Asian influenced culture to the map was just pandering. frankly, when you get the chance to play it, it's can't say
Yeah.
anything.
I mean,
You know,
like,
it's very like I'm looking forward to being able to see other people play that content and what their impression of it is, because I'm fundamentally looking forward to sharing the experience that has kept me here for what will be ballpark 3,000 hours. You know,
so one of the things that I wanted to kind of point out, like, and like, I feel like I'm completely fine with saying this, because you know the people have experienced the game in sort of like at the preview event, that kind of thing. If you guys have ever played, you know, things like Ark, Survival Evolved, you know, some of the other kind of, you know, random games of that kind of form, like Atlas, right? You know, maybe you've tried, you know, the recent sort of, preview. Well, not preview, like the recent sort of like testing event, mass testing event for Mortal Online 2, right? Like, a lot of those games promise a lot of different things, but like when you actually play it, it kind of feels a bit janky, a little bit kind of like not quite there, not quite grounded, not quite. I don't know. You get this kind of feeling that like the kind of like fundamentals, or the fundamentals in terms of like, you know, your player experience, or like the feeling of like moving and, you know, that kind of thing with your character is like not quite right, not quite there. Like, even when I started playing New World, like, you know, at the first alpha, and this is like, I mean, how many years ago is this now? Like 2 years, 2.5 years,
I think
two
we're
and a half
closing
years,
in
maybe?
on 3.
Yeah, so we're closing in on 3. Like, as soon as I started playing New World, like, I got that sense that, like, this is a rock solid game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, the movement felt good. You know, the feeling of this, you know, the solidness of your character. Like, it's weird to sort of try and put these kind of like this kind of experience into words, because it's a little bit, it's kind of a little bit esoteric. It's a little bit like like uh, what is the word? Um, it's like, it's not exactly a kind of thing that's easy to describe, but like playing the game, it feels solid.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird way. It's an odd
Yeah,
feeling.
I mean,
Yeah.
utilizing the preview as the example here. You know, the one thing that people didn't complain is that they didn't feel like their character. You know, they felt like they had agency over their character's movements, unless they were getting like stun locked, which they've changed a lot of the mechanics around that prevent that from happening. At least, you know, unless you're getting like chained and that by CC abilities. But you know, fundamentally, it feels solid. You know, the sound design of the game. You know, like everybody in the room that has played knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say the sound design. The second you hit the first tree with an axe, you're like, ooh,
Yeah.
they got that right. You know, and I mean they're quite good at, you know, obviously the art, you know, which we've, you know, been streaming as a slideshow here. You know, the
I mean,
art of the game is pretty great.
the game is pretty beautiful. Like at the worst, like even at the worst of times, the game is pretty beautiful. At the best of times, like especially sunset and sunrise, like, oh, this thing isn't like a piece of art.
Oh yeah. You know, the world design and the difference in between the regions as well. You know, you look at some of the Angry Earth areas, and you're like, wow, that is, kind of reminiscent of like Avatar. Then you look at Brightwood and some of the kind of spooky, I kind of refer to them as like Halloween themed. You know, it's so different. Like it's just vastly different. Then you start looking at the ebb and scale reach content. In high mountains with temples and just the art of the buildings is just dramatically different. The animals are dramatically different. The world takes on so many different vibes, and they really nail it when they're going for a certain vibe. They really hit it well.
I mean, we were talking like before the stream, right? We were talking about like how, like in the preview event, we completely forgot about like cranking up the resolution and like taking like huge screenshots of like the vistas, just to sort of have those as like wallpaper backgrounds and stuff. Like, but you can bet your ass, like when that closed beta comes along, like I am definitely going to devote some time to going to certain beautiful vistas in that game and just cranking up the the dynamic super resolution and just like taking a picture of those things in like 8K.
Well, and you look at some of the you look at some of the pictures that we were able to post, even though we didn't really make a large effort to do this. We did have pictures from the launch of the game, and we've got them up on our Twitter now too. I'll see if I can find one quick. That I've been consistently asked if they are actually part of the game, or if like I had some kind of access to like some early content, or where is it?
Cinematic renders or something. Are you also talking with regards to the life quintessence, the life like life moth or something? Yeah.
With the appropriate response from Greg too. Like this image, there is no touch up to this image. All we did was drop the UI, and that's it. This is what the game looks like on full graphics. Like I am so pumped to be able to play this, just because like finding this in a deep cave in underneath Murkgard was just a cool experience, and being able to be there and take an image like this.
Yeah. Oh, I think the thing is like there's only one person on the stream at the moment, and two people who knew exactly what happened straight afterwards. Someone nabbed it.
Dibs.
That person, that guy up there. He was like, "Oh, hang on, guys. Crowd round, let's get a photo, etc., etc." It's like, "Oh yeah, this is really cool." Snap, yoink.
I thank you guys for the follows. I haven't been following them. I haven't been keeping up with those, but I really do appreciate the follows, the subs. It does go a long way. At this point, we have put every dollar that we have earned back into the stream in some way. You'll notice the image quality for McLeod and I is very high. McLeod admittedly had most of his setup from another stream, but I've been able to up the quality of mine. Obviously, broadcast equipment is not cheap in terms of microphone quality and all that.
In all fairness, I did actually request you to get those, so and they weren't exactly cheap. So
yes.
But you know, it comes with the it comes from as a recommendation, you know, from you know, Angry Joe and his
Hmm.
crew. You know, it's the same
Hey,
headphone.
thank you for the multiple subs.
Oh damn! Thank you. Yeah,
Very
very
much
much.
appreciated. Very much appreciated. So in terms of, we did talk about this a little bit earlier. In terms of the cash shop, the transaction store, as far as we know, there are three things. They're adamantly against any kind of pay to win. They're not wanting to do any kind of loot boxes, and it is going to be almost entirely cosmetic based. So, skins for days. And I mean, you guys have seen the outfits that are in the game so far that you can craft. I would imagine the skins on top of that will be in fitting with the art team's capabilities, which, as seen on the images, are clearly they
I mean,
clearly got some really good artists for this. So
they most definitely do. Like if you've
Mhm.
seen some of the, I mean, I, I don't know whether leaked is actually like the term. Like found probably is definitely the term, but like, you know, there were some art assets that were basically found on, you know, some art sort of portfolio websites that were very much to do with New World, and those art assets were like essentially, you know, movie production quality. You know, in terms of their sort of, in terms of their detail, in terms of their resolution, it was just insane. Like, so I can only imagine that, like, you know, the artists that they have, like there, are pretty top tier.
oh yeah. Um, and they seem to
I haven't
have
even
kind of
got to,
everything they want so far.
and Ace, we haven't even got to the point to the fact that like, Lumberyard is like getting an update, and like, you know, a pretty significant one.
Yes, it is a very significant one. So I would not put a lot of hope into this being there on launch. Hey, thanks for the follow. But I would state that it would be a good idea for them to do this. That said, the new updates to the Lumberyard engine will support ray tracing and was it
Yeah,
DLS
quite a
or
great.
um, it's dynamic upscaling basically. So
Yeah. So essentially, like, essentially being able to use like I think like high detail
DLSS. Yep.
anime. Yeah.
Yep. Um, you know, fundamentally speaking, they clearly know what they're doing.
But they're even
There was
yeah.
I'm remembering what McLeod was aiming at here a minute ago. The leaked images that were on.
Yeah, you know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I just gotta find them now.
Like when you have a massive library of you know assets that you know, from a game that hasn't actually been released yet, it's kind of difficult to find everything like very quickly.
Yes.
But
So
the other
for those that are
interesting thing.
curious, just to
Mhm.
pitch our Discord here, what is it? Exclamation point Discord. So our Discord hosts a public library. Like we're hanging out in there all the time, but you know there is a public library. It's the Shadow Gallery art section that has everything that has ever been released, going all the way back to some of the YouTube videos that you literally cannot get anywhere else. We are the only location in which you can still get them. We're we're very proud of the collection that we've gathered there, and it fundamentally will show you a really good set of understanding of how the game actually has developed over time. And I just found them.
Yeah. So, I think going back to Lumberyard, like one of the other kind of very exciting things about the kind of the recent update to Lumberyard is that they've also added support for third parties to create like add-ons to Lumberyard that can basically do a lot of stuff. And they're basically they're essentially kind of saying that a lot of probably the most feature-rich aspects of Lumberyard may not even come from Amazon themselves, but from like third parties.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say that Amazon are just sitting back and kind of going, right, now it's all your guys' turn to work on it, rather that kind of thing. Like I'm sure AGS are going to continue to strive to update it and add features and add sort of compatibility and all that kind of jazz to Lumberyard. But adding that ability to let your community help develop what they want to develop, it is it's the dream scenario. Yeah, Absolutely. This is some of the detail that we're talking about, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, you can tell, hey, this is very clearly, cutscene quality, super high resolution, McLeod said it right the first time, cinema quality that you would downscale off of this for in-game or, various other purposes. But I mean, this is the kind of quality that screams, hey, this is clearly capable of doing some really cool stuff.
Yeah, it's it screams, we have top quality grade A artists.
Yes, their art team is on point. Hey, Lunch.
But yeah, and even if the thing is, it's sort of tempting to say that every single one of the sort of the skins that would be available in the game after launch will be at this level, at this quality, but just downscaled. I don't think it will be, but I think I think they'll definitely be at a level, at a quality level that is probably just that little bit higher than the average game, right? From what we've seen.
Mm-hmm. But we also have concept art in here, by the way, that straight up you can't find anywhere else. So things like this that very, very much show Romans versus, conquistador style guys. Just saying, their art team has a little bit of everything, and it's really some good stuff. They also have... honest to God, the first time I saw this image, I swore up and down that this had to be a model.
Oh yeah, no, I remember this because we were there going is this a picture of a large scale model that they made?
It's
because at the level
that's
right?
really far zoomed in, and that looks almost photorealistic.
It's kind of scary in that regard. There was a point at which I think you showed the sort of the Roman centurion, but the non corrupted Roman centurion, and I was like, that has got to be a photo of an actor in that stuff, right?
That
Yeah,
one?
this one. And I was like, they're going like, that has got to be a photo of an actor in that stuff. And then needed to show the corrupted version, and I was like, okay, maybe not,
Mm-hmm.
because like that was like, yeah, that's not a photo. Like someone's definitely done some, you know, that's definitely a large amount of time in the in the makeup department in order to create that effect. Um,
Yeah. So now,
or
what,
it's an
where
photo.
these were located, by the way, was on the art website that people share their kind of portfolio. Um, so, you know, these ended up, basically leaking, for no better word.
Well,
But
that's what I was
because
saying. Like, you know,
they
was it
weren't
the
part
leaking
of the
top?
game or assets from the game, they're not against the NDA, which I'm sure they might be against that individual's NDA for releasing artwork and stuff, but um, that's up for somebody else's decision, not mine. Um, now here's the thing: most of these assets you're probably not going to see in the game, but again, you know, you
Yeah,
will
we're not.
see high quality, high res imagery. Um, oh
Yeah,
god,
we're not basically.
there we go. About as good as it gets. Um,
So,
you'll
so
see high quality, high res imagery in the game. These are not touched up in any way. You know,
with the
this is just me dicking around with the camera.
uh, so just to roll back to the photorealistic stuff, right? What we're saying there is not like it is not a case of the stuff that you'll see in game is going to be photorealistic. Like that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is like the artists that they have, the artists, the 3D renderers, all that kind of stuff, like that they have on tap in Amazon games, for New World, are of that quality that if they want to or if they need to produce that level of quality of work, they can do.
Oh yeah. So game about the quality of specs that you're going to need for running this. So they
Dude,
recommend a Intel Core i7 2600K or a Ryzen
so,
5 1400.
so shall I talk about my rig and how I was able to and the quality that
Yeah.
I got? Like,
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't think the quality that I streamed on the preview event was, anything super terrible or like, it didn't look, as far as I'm concerned, it didn't look or feel particularly terrible. Running 1080p, streaming to, streaming to Twitch 1080p. I think I was running 1080 60. Not 100% certain. I know I kind of played around with it a little bit in order to actually maximize the the detail output, so it wasn't sort of blurry or blocky kind of thing. But like, you know when you're talking about like old school rigs and whether you can run this on a potato, like, I mean, I'm running on a 10-year-old like, I think 12-year-old socket now, I believe, or the LGA 1366 or something like that. It's like it's it's an old school thing. I'm running a hex core Xeon, with dual channel memory, right? Like the only the most advanced stuff that I have in my computer is basically a 1070 and an M.2 that's slotted into a Yeah, exactly. It is really old school. Like, you know, and I've got an M.2 that's slotted into a PCI Express. It's slotted into a PCI Express expansion card, like adapter card. Like those two things are the most advanced things that I have in my computer at the moment. Like, and I'm running like, you know, pretty old school CPU, and I'm still able to run this, you know, at what I consider to be uh, a level of prettification in the game that like doesn't make me want to hate playing the game in any way, shape, or form. In actual fact, like there were several moments where I'm like just looking at the game, going like, how was this game running so well and looking so gorgeous on the computer that I have like it running on? It was kind of ridiculous.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's definitely, um, you know, and I play the game at absolute full graphics because I'm that guy. Um, but I also have a Radeon 7, which is more of a workhorse card than a gaming card. Um, but you know, if you look up what a Radeon 7's going for on eBay right now, you'll die inside. I know I certainly did. Um, but I'm also looking to upgrade, the mythical 3090 at this point. I should have pulled the trigger much earlier, and not that they were available back then either. But
What can you do, dude?
yeah, I literally last year was like, oh yeah, this would be a great time to build a new computer. You know, prep for the game, build a second computer, so I get a streaming computer and the gaming computer. And I unfortunately have not been able to do that yet. I can tell you the game runs great. You know, like you guys remember the preview, it's fundamentally runs really well on just about everybody's computer. That said, I did have some challenges in the preview event, but that was mostly like there's some kind of like driver issue at the time. But
yeah, you that agitated you for a while.
That was the most annoying thing ever. But yeah,
I think they did get it resolved in the end, but like,
yeah, I think I believe they figured that out now. But we will see. So from there, I do want to say thank you again to just the crazy amount of follows, the multiple subs, the sub gifts. Anybody, you guys are always welcome on the Discord, whether you want to chat with us or just want to surf through the art library, or if you just want to use us as a source for automation. A lot of our channels automatically pull developer blogs and developer updates, Twitter posts. If you're interested in following the Reddit, it'll tell you when new things are up on there. Fundamentally speaking, we try and make it as inclusive as a community as we possibly can. A lot of really good people, and we're excited to consistently get to stream to the New World community, and it's always a pleasure. And with that, we've been going just about an hour and a half, and McLeod and I have an engagement in about half an hour.
Oh yeah, good point.
I just looked at the clock. That's why I was, abrupt transition here. And yeah, so again, thank you guys. You guys are helping us get to that mythical 500 followers. It's there seems to be some kind of Twitch magic that happens around 500, and I'm pumped to be I think we're at 461, and we're hard charging towards that 500. On top of that, if you guys hit the follow, it sends you the emails and notifications saying, hey, the streamer's live. Otherwise, you can follow but also turn off the notifications. and really all that does is just help us show up in some of the search results. So, um, again,
Yeah,
thank you everyone. If you want to chat for a little bit after the show, McLeod and I will be around on the Discord in the public chat channel. Aside from that, we're going to go to the outro, and until then, we will see you in the new world.